So with your permission, I am recording, I think.
So then I'm gonna be very careful what I say today, Larry.
A very good idea, Michael. You know what, Michael? Just don't say anything.
You know, that's very hard for me, so.
You know, I do know that, yeah. It's hard for me too, shockingly.
So there was one other thing. Usually I have smaller crowds and I tell people to jump in whenever I take a breath, so I can drill down. But because of the large amount of people that we have right today, if you would be kind enough to text in a message, okay?
You mean in the chat?
Yes, ma'am. In the chat, then I will try to get to as many as I can as we go through. Please understand that as I go through the sections and the way that I kind of walk through the demo, the idea is.
Hey.
So Chuck, if I can say this, and I would for the group, I think first of all, I will say to you, well, a couple of things. I am going to be in and out of the call because I have a call that I have to jump off of, but I'm coming back. But the point would be also, and we've shared a little bit of this internally, is that I think for everybody to be able to hear and absorb, it is helpful to let you provide the presentation. And then, the questions can be considered, as part of that, but would want you to have control of the presentation so that we all can absorb best, because when you have questions, obviously it's of great importance to the person who's asking, but it may not have quite that compelling level of issue for others. And so we want to make sure this is the part where, as you said, you want to convince us that, the world can't move forward without 10-11. So I got it. I understand that. And we would like to provide that opportunity, as well as to have the opportunity to learn from you. And right now, that's what this is. This is a learning process. So we want to hear from you. And again, I would encourage our team to work with that in mind.
Very good.
So I think we can get started.
Very good. And please realize, if this goes well, the next step is we will do a deep dive. We'll come on site. We'll break it up into 1.5 to 2-hour sessions, very specific, clinical, operational and management, reporting, and then billing. And by the way, with me, I believe I saw Phyllis Schreck. Phyllis, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
The way I set this demonstration up is we're going to go through clinical, operational, and some reporting on the front half of this. And then on the back half, we're going to take everything that you see, because the idea is we're going to show you how to not only streamline the business, but when it comes time to getting paid for it, everything that we've done clinically and workflow and business process wise will be ready to go for the billing. And you billing folks get very, very granular with your questions. And so the back half of this will be around billing, because I know for Tom, for Larry, that's vitally important. So billers, don't hijack me here. Just be patient and wait, and we'll get to it at the end. Phyllis, good morning. Glad to have you with us.
And if I may jump in for just one other second, just to be aware, the agenda that you shared, Chuck, was shared with the attendees. So they are kind of aware. And so you are going to see a little traffic where some people are coming out and others are coming in based upon what's being covered.
Sure, very good. Housekeeping, Phyllis, can you see the chats that are coming across?
I can.
If you can, and they're in your wheelhouse, answer them. If not, just let them go. She's
Sure.
a billing expert, not so much clinical, so she'll help where she can as I sing and dance. Okay, without any further ado, I am going to take my face off so that we can, and if you guys look at your box, there's usually some icons in the gallery view. If you'll hit the little minus sign or the single bar, that should minimize that so you get a good screen view. All right, folks, buckle up. Here we go. Who the heck is 1011 and why are we here? And let me tell you who we are. where we came from. 1011 is a software and professional implementation and professional services support company, software company, focused specifically on behavioral health. Our background came, the two founders of our company worked for Computer Task Group, Fortune 500 company based in New York. When they decided to grow up, start their own company, they did it consulting on business process reengineering, focused in over time on healthcare information technology. They kept getting more customers in the behavioral health, imparted advice. People said, man, that's great advice for how to optimize revenue, meet our regulatory compliance, make things run smoother for our people. But that stuff doesn't exist. And if you will build something, we will buy it. And so they did. And we created 1011 Group with our premier product called ECR, or the electronic clinical record. We delivered our first customer in Buffalo in 2006. In the 15 years since then, we have grown significantly. We've got about 200 agencies that we serve, multiple states. We've got over 20,000 users. We support a lot of different service lines, inpatient, outpatient, residential for substance abuse, IOPs, day treatment. On the substance abuse side, we can handle detox, IOPs, OPs, medication-assisted treatment, including dosing of methadone with the DEA reporting. So and what we'll show you here is a way that, because you have some unique stuff with your elderly, with the pantry, you have stuff that may not be behavioral health related, but if we can find a way to scale this solution to help people document and stay organized on that side, I think we have a platform that could assist you. In addition to operating, it's great to say 200 people, but what do you know about New York? We know a lot about New York. We have over 100 agencies in New York. In the substance abuse area, hold on, I got folks coming in. Give me just a moment. I'm sorry, folks. Admit all. Okay. All right, very good. If everyone coming in would be just kind enough to mute their speakers, that would be great. Or hold on for a moment. I'm going to mute. Maybe I can mute everybody. Okay, can everybody still hear me? Okay, I'm assuming that you can. By the way, if you have a question, you want to jump in, unmute your microphone. So I was saying we have a lot of experience up in New York. We have them all over the state, from Buffalo to Albany, Rochester. We also have large customers in and around the New York City area. In the city, I'm thinking Bridging Access to Care, Start New York. Out on the island, we've got Catholic Health Systems, the Mary Haven Center, and several of their programs are working with us. We've got another dozen around the New York City area and over 100 throughout the state. We support and keep current at no additional charge all the requirements that you have for multiple OASIS programs, as well as certain the past reporting, as well as OMH. We have a couple of OMH reports that we can help you submit, or we have created that you can use also. Let's take a moment. We're going to talk about technology. 1011 is a Microsoft shop. We use what's known as the .NET framework. What does that mean to your folks? It means that if you're familiar with Microsoft, you're going to have a quick learning curve. If you've worked with Windows or Outlook or Excel or Word, look and feel very similar. The ability to have drop-down menus and sub-menus to let you pick from them. The ability to open up multiple windows at the same time is there. All the way down to being able to go with your mouse, and if you right click, you can do one thing, and left click, you can do another. So quick learning curve with Microsoft industry standard. We can deliver an on-premise solution. Most of our customers now prefer us to manage everything in the cloud, and that's tech talk for the servers will be over at our data center instead of yours. And what's that mean? It means when things start running slow, it's time to refresh that computer. It's included in your price for security, HIPAA compliance. It's there for bandwidth and scalability. It's there. We include that. technology-wise still, our database industry standard, Microsoft SQL System Query Language Server. We deliver it using, instead of a web browser, we use the Microsoft RDP client, the remote desktop client. What that means is when you log in, you just double click on your icon, type your password in, looks like you get a brand new Microsoft window up. The ECR application runs on that. Easy to use, industry standard. We include a built-in integration engine. What does that mean? It means that if you want to tie into Healthix or HealthyLink, if you need to tie into e-prescribing or electronic labs, we have the engine built in. It means that we are ready, willing, and able to play with third-party applications. Benefit to you on your desktop, on your user experience. We have the ability to tie together a lot of the moving parts that you need to run your business individually and the agency's business very seamlessly. Okay, I was kidding earlier with Steve and Larry that this was not your first rodeo. I understand that this is a replacement EHR. 80–90% of our electronic health records now are replacements. What we found over time is that, and we are a forms-based system and we're really strong on reporting. What we have found is that as your agency grows and you get a new service line, a new program type, you got to capture data, whether it's the regulatory compliance agency, JCO, or if it's CARF, or whether it's your payer, whether it's Medicaid, one of the managed Medicaid providers, or a county, or whoever's funding you. They want to get information. They want some sort of a report. As we continued to grow 1011 and got more successful, it became, we needed to find a mechanism that would allow our customers to be able to create their own forms, stick them in the database, and be able to report, not just spreadsheet, not just Excel type of reports, but visualizations, dashboards, outcomes measurements, trends, graphs, things of that sort. So one of the reasons that our more experienced customers love 1011 is that we give you self-service capability so that you can now get the forms so that you can capture the information and do the reports without having to pay 1011, without having to wait. We will enable you and your staff to work at the speed of Bowen. I hope that sounds good. Back to a couple of mantras that we believe in and have developed the ECR system around. One is that you should never have to enter information more than one time. Wouldn't it be nice if you could take the information from intake and registration, pull that through, be able to enroll into one program if someone discharges from a program and say they're stepping down to a new level of care, to be able to transition forms, information, demographics over into that second chart. We do that all the way through billing, all the way through reporting. It's fast. It reduces errors, and it gives you good fidelity of data so that reports that you get are actually valid. It's good stuff that you're working with. If we are fortunate enough to work with you, we are going to give you a program with a lot of features and functionality, but as robust as the program is, we do not want to overwhelm you with stuff, nor focus on stuff that is not relevant to you as an agency, to a program, and depending on what your role is with the company, what you do. So what we will do is that we are going to come over to the city. We are going to sit down with you, your managers, your key stakeholders in each program, and we're going to say, what are you doing now? What is working well? What can we replicate? If it's not broken, let's don't fix it. Well, you look at your as-is process, and then we say, what hurts? Where's the heartburn? Where are you running into friction? And together, we're going to figure out how to layer in our technology with your business processes and best practices that you want to implement so that we can come to a desired state using the 1011 platform as a tool to help you streamline that workflow, to help you minimize the challenges of getting your regulatory compliance. And just as important as those two things are, make sure that you get paid every cent that you're entitled to for the hard work that you do. We support And I don't know if Acumedic does it, but we do support the golden thread. Remember earlier, I was talking about being able to enter information only one time. I'll give you an example today of how the golden thread lets us take the prioritized needs from the assessment. And when I open up a form to create a treatment plan, have those prioritized needs available in a dropdown so I can very seamlessly start to create my treatment plan. As I create my goals in that treatment plan and I go to serve my client, we're going to give you those goals in a drop down in the progress notes so that you can very quickly and consistently document, reduce the amount of narrative. More importantly, when it comes time to defend your diagnosis, we'll be able to show those auditors from the progress note where you submitted your claim all the way back from the treatment plan to the assessment, the diagnosis, so that we can hopefully minimize the pain of your audits. Okay, a couple of things that I'm about to jump over. I talked about forms early. We are a forms-based system. We have created over 3,000 forms that you have available to you as we work together to build your starting form sets in your charts. We'll talk about chart structure and how it can be configured to the workflow of each particular program. And if there are variations between locations, how you can adjust for that. A couple of concepts as we move forward here. We really want to minimize narrative data. Not that it's not important, but a big thing that Tom wants, what Larry wants, is to be able to measure outcomes, to be able to track trends, not just on your assessments and how your clients are doing, but for your productivity and for quality improvement internally. If we can capture, and my story is, if I'm entering information and I need to find out who the referral is, and if I can say it came from this State Street Hospital, I might spell street, S-T-R-E-E-T. Larry might spell it S-T. Tom might spell it S-T-R. And when it comes time to look at a graph or a chart, I don't have good data because the computers are looking for three different versions. We're going to normalize that data. We're going to be able to give you good information. This, by the way, is an example of the PHQ-9. It's a depression assessment. Imagine this. Imagine that your clinical process says, I want to administer the PHQ-9 across all my programs, everyone we serve, and I want to do it at admit, at 30 days, 60, 90, and or at discharge. I want to assess to see how they're doing. We can assess that information, document it in the chart, and then be able to go and view this information and see how we're doing at a program level, at a location level, at a therapist level, all the way down to the client. This is an example where I can come in and say, you know, Chuck, the client, you admitted here in September. We gave you the PHQ-9. Lower is better on the PHQ-9. I can see after 30, 60, and 90 days of treatment how you've improved. Very good for your clients. Very good when you go out to negotiate contracts to give you a better rate because of the staff that you're hiring to get a longer length of stay. Let's use this data that we can help deliver to you and turn it from data into knowledge and all the way into wisdom. We'll give you an example of that as we move through here. Okay, I'm jumping in just a moment. Couple things. Role-based system. What does it mean? It means configurable user, a homepage, and what you see, depending on what you do, you have a slightly different view. For instance, intake people would have a different view than a clinician, who would have a different view than a biller, who would have a different view than a super user or management. I will give you examples of that. I've already talked about forms-based. Oh, very important thing in here. We talked about regulatory compliance. Especially when you look at your payers. The one thing that Medicaid has, and they do it on steroids in New York State, is they are a little intense about their rules. There are rules for everything. And so what we have done is come up with a system that allows us to bake those rules in. So whether it's JCO or CARP, whether it's your payer, whether it's what your management wants, we can bake that into the system so that we make sure your staff takes care of the next thing with the making sure we do it on time with the right person, with the right credentials, with the benefit being that we're going to satisfy that regulatory compliance, and we are going to make sure we get our money in as much as possible the first time we submit that claim. Finally, we'll come in and take a look at those reports that I was talking about. Okay, I'm going to open it up for questions, and as I move over to the demonstration, anything that is compelling that I could answer for you before I dive in to the system. Very good. 1 second. Okay. Can someone send me a note or tell me verbally that you can see the screen now? It's a big white screen with an ECR in the middle.
You got it.
Excellent.
I'm sorry, I came a little late. Can I ask a question? This isn't Anastasia, is it?
Who? Those guys? I thought they died and went away. No, excuse me, sir.
Oh.
No, they're not. They were acquired by Cerner. They're a competitive ours. We are not Anasazi.
All right, good, because I really didn't like that program. Thank you.
Hey, Chuck, I just wanted to stop in and say hi. I'm Dr. Kaczorski, everybody. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for 1011. And just in terms of the reports that Chuck was just talking about, I want to mention too, I believe you guys are using NOMS for your CCBHC reporting. That could also be, you could add that also into 1011's ECR because I realize that you guys are in the middle of your CCBHC demonstration period. So that's also something that you can do with this program. But I just wanted to say hello. I'm just wanted to say hi, and I'd be walking through this with you guys too, should you choose to move over to 1011 with us.
Thank you, Dr. K. Appreciate it. Okay, let's, if everybody can see the screen, let me tell you what we're looking at here. We set the system up so that when you log on, you come to a home page or a navigation bar, navigation screen, if you will, and this is it. Now, earlier I said that we're a role-based system, and I've started it up in a couple different ways. I wanted to start off as a clinician, and we'll get to that view in a moment. And I just went to look at the current user, but if you look down lower, you'll see that I'm actually a system admin. That is because as we move forward into management or move over to intake, or if I go to billing, I don't want to have to log out and log back in. So I've cheated the system. If you see me do something that a clinician doesn't do, please realize it's just to save you guys time. Now, with that being said, quick overview of the system. I talked about it being a Windows-based system and the ability to move, to open multiple windows, to be able to resize your windows. We talked about the drop-down menus, tons of functionality in here, hundreds and hundreds of commands. It's amazing how much power this thing has. And while that's all great, the last thing that we want to do is overwhelm a clinician who just wants to see what's on her schedule and serve her client and write a progress note. So out of all those hundreds of options, what we do is we have taken the favorites, the go-to day in and day out things that you do by your role, and even more customizable down to the individual. And I put them up here in the section up on the left, and we call this day to day. Now I've kind of adjusted it, but if you would imagine, first of all, that you're in the role, you're at the front desk or you're at intake. What do I have? I've got the ability to register a patient. I can look at the caseload manager, any alerts, things of that sort. If I am a clinician, I just want to see my clients. Is there an alert? Is there something I have to take care of? Do I need to look at medications? Do I need to order labs? Things of that sort. If you do this multiple times a day, instead of having to click, 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 we put them up here, one-click access to your most common task in there. Same thing as we get to billing. If I look at billing, I've got a queue for the billers that can say, please let me look at all the progress notes that have cleared the hurdles that are in my queue for me to really scrub and look at if I need to submit that insurance or auto post. But once again, depending on what you do, we will configure this so that your most commonly used task, one-click access. When it comes, now imagine this, let's say I have some clinicians or a clinician who may also be a supervisor. 1011 is a rights and privileges based system. So if I choose, and as part of your business process, you say, I want to give Chuck, the clinician, supervisory powers, only certain ones I can pick and choose. So they're going to do their past submissions for your OASIS reportings. You need to check on compliance. You need to maybe add a form to a chart if I've given you the right and the privilege to do that. If you have, when you go to your homepage, you will be able to access that. If not, you won't even know that it exists in there. Same thing with reporting. We have reports for individuals, for programs or locations, for billing or for enterprise. You determine, you contour who gets to see what, who gets to do what. I hope that makes sense. A couple of other things that I want to talk about on the homepage. One is the caseload manager. So the caseload manager is configurable. And right now I am the system administrator. So when I open up the caseload manager, we call it the My Client list, by the way. I set it up because I am the supervisor, and there's some buttons down at the bottom I could set up. But basically what I said is, for me, in my role, for all active clients in the places that I serve, please let me look at all clients in this particular case by program, with their last name, their first name, and if the status, are they admitted? Are they still in referral? Are they in intake? And the last time that status date changed. And with the click of a button, I can open up that chart and go to it. I did that. I'm going to right click on it now. I just right clicked on my mouse. In addition to being able to open the chart, I can also go to patient details. So if I need to add more information on the patient detail side, I can do that. Or if I have a client that may have been in here more than one time, with the click of a button, I can also go in and look at the chart list. The chart list tells me that for this client, okay, they have been in here a couple of times. As I'm looking at Morgan Klein in here, I can see that he was in a case management program a couple of times, and he was in an outpatient program a couple of times also. I can also go in. So if I need to collaborate, I can say, wow, Mr. Klein's coming in. With the click of a button, I can see for that particular program, what other clinicians were involved with the treatment. So now I have a quick reference that I can go back and collaborate with my colleagues on maybe an incoming client. Also, if we support dual enrollment of clients, and with the click of a button, I could admit them to a new chart from this location. So kind of a quick overview there. Now, by the way, I know you guys have a couple of locations. Right now, I am just looking at everything. I'm focusing by program, saying what active clients do I have and what's their status. But it could be that you set your default view, or you want to slice and look at the data a different way. And you could say, look, I want to see by facility what my active clients look like, what programs they're in, and what their status is. Or I could say, as a supervisor, let me see how we're doing by clinician view. Guess who my demo clinician is. But if I need to do some load balancing, I have a quick look at that too. If I want to sort down and filter down, I can do it by programs. I can go and look at it by role, or I could type in a client. So say if I wanted to look at the bunnies, with a click of, you see when I started typing bunny in here, out of 566 names, it shrunk down. That's called dynamic filtering. It was a very good way to search and find out where your clients are. One last thought, I've shown supervisory roles in here. Let's just say that I am Charlie, the clinician. It's great that we can see by location and by programs and all that. I just want to see, who do I have today? And if I set this as my default view, I can come in and say, okay, I've got a couple of people in a couple of different programs, and now I can go to work on my client list. We'll come back to more of this a little bit later. Just wanted to give you an idea. Third concept from the homepage that I want to brief you on is the alert manager that I mentioned earlier. Very, very powerful, great way to help everybody stay organized at the individual level. There are 4 different sections of that. Let me kind of walk through how, remember earlier I was talking about baking in your rules. So the first area I want to talk to is called the form and date alerts. Let's talk about regulatory compliance. And now I want you to role play with me. So now we're at intake, and I've got a client, and the client is Frank Fullchart, and I make an admission decision, and I say, okay, I got a funding from the managed Medicaid provider. They've given me an auth. I want to give this to Charlie, the clinician. I click a button, and it sends information. First of all, it sends me an instant alert that says, hey, Charlie, you have a new client. It's Frank Fullchart, but also this is called the alert manager. I call it the to-do list. I send him a note, and I'm going to take it right here. I can mouse over it. I'm just going to right click on it right now. And what does this alert tells me? It tells me, hey, I've given you this client. And by the way, the regulatory compliance on this is that we have to create a treatment plan within 30 days after admit. Okay, so we send them an alert. However, Larry said, because I've worked with you guys so long, I know if I give you 30 days, you'll start doing the treatment plan on the 30th day. I need it done sooner. Send me a warning at the 10-day mark. So we send in a second alert. I call that a best practice alert to go with the regulatory compliance. What does that mean for the clinician? Well, please, if I send you this alert, take care of it. But if you delete it, it's going to come back tomorrow. If you don't do it after 10 days, it's going to send you a second alert. If you don't take care of it after that, I'll send you a third alert. And oh, by the way, I'll send your supervisor an alert that says, hey, Charlie really needs to complete that treatment recovery plan. So based upon that, now, all right, I'll take care of it. And you can go back to that My Clients list. You can look up the patient. You can open up the chart. You can go to the form, or with the click of the button, I can click on the chart. It will open up the form, and I can go and complete that treatment plan. It's simple. It's easy. It's consistent. It is configured the way that you want it to run. So that's an example of a treatment, a form alert. There's other forms. Say you need to complete an assessment, it will alert you. There are several other ones. We'll get into this if we're fortunate enough to do a deep dive. Okay, let's go and talk about instant alerts. Instant alerts are a different type of alert. For instance, let's say that John Belushi is checked in for an appointment, and I'm at the front desk. I check them in. And because we know that Kathy is the primary, or Charlie is the primary clinician, I'm going to send him an instant alert, which pops up down here. But also, I send him a progress note. Let me just see if I've got another alert here now that I'm talking about that. Of course not. I have 4,000 because I do too many demos, folks. Okay, but well, here's an example. Let's say that we're doing a group session, and I've checked the group in, and the front desk person notifies the person by instant alert, but also we send them on their to-do list that says, hey, Charlie, okay, your residential treatment facility group, they're all checked in. By the way, I need you to create a progress note, and to help you, it was for this date, for this time, and it was a group session for the RTF group. With the click of a button, I can go to it and complete that progress note for not only one, but multiple people. And we'll show you how that works a little bit later. There are many, many instant alerts. We'll see a couple of examples as we go through here. Third thing, we support instant messaging. Instant messaging will allow me to, in a HIPAA compliant manner, communicate internally with my colleagues when they log onto the system, or as long as they're logged onto the system. What can I send? I could send to an individual. I could send to a group of individuals. I could send to a predetermined team. I could send upstream to my supervisors, downstream to my subordinates. How do I do it? Let's just say that I want to include Kathy in there. What I would do is I want to send them a message. I'd go, here is a sample message. And by the way, if that's too small or too large, I can shrink or I can enlarge it. If I want to go and do a spell check, I can do that. But I'm now sending an instant message. The instant message could be John Smith, Mr. Belushi appeared drunk during assessment, and you just want to alert these people, you can do that. It does exist outside of the chart, certainly auditable, but all I have to do is I can send this message. And the way our alert manager works is about every 10 seconds, we go and refresh it. It looks for new messages, and then we update. So what I did was I just sent a message to the 3 people that I told. And in about 10 seconds, if I assign it to the right person, I'll get a pop-up on the alert manager. It will turn yellow. I have 2 different Kathy clinicians. I sent it to the wrong person. Okay, sorry. Lab results. We can tie into your laboratory system. So if you're doing urine test, blood test, we have an option in the system that will eliminate the need to use Quest or LabCorp or Sunrise, whoever your lab is. You can actually issue your orders. We have the compendium. You can pick which one you want to do. We'll send the request out. If you need to print a label out for a bottle, we support all that. But eventually the lab's going to get the test and the results will come back not as a fax, but as a PDF, or excuse me, not as a fax or a PDF, but as electronic data. Those results will show in the alert manager. It shows up in other places too. And I will cover that in just a moment. That was a summary, by the way, of really the 3 features I wanted to talk to you: the homepage, configurability, client list, and alert manager. Okay, so now let's talk about charts and chart structures for each program. I have got a couple of samples in here, and let me see what I can come up with. Let's talk about a chart. Let me describe the chart, and then I'll get into more detail about how it is created for the program. 3 areas I want to kind of focus in on the chart. The top area is called the chart header. I call it the white space. On the right is a table of contents of the workflow sections and available forms for each particular program. I call this the right side of the chart. And I call this the left side of the chart because in the example I'll give you in a moment, we have the ability to go in and as I complete this information, the completed chart starts filling in on the left. I'll give you an example in a moment. Couple thoughts around the chart. First, up in the white space, by default, we identify the client, their record number. We can configure the medical records to work with the system that you have right now, everything ranging from creating a random chart number to following the naming conventions that you use now, however you want to do it. There are certain things that you can put on the chart header. In this particular sample or demo that I've set up, we identified the program, the location, some demographic information. I don't have a diagnosis yet or insurance. This is called a breadcrumb. The idea here is that when I open up the chart at a glance, I can very quickly see where I am with this particular client. This particular client is admitted in here. If I need to go into patient details, click of a button lets me come in here. If I need to manually enter an allergy, if I need to document some hospitalizations, let's say it's the Able Center and you've got an intake over there and we have identified this person as a high risk. I want to go ahead and add that particular thing. I would designate them at high risk. Let's keep an eye on that particular client for a week and add any comments that I want. I would save that. And for that particular patient, it would come up. It would change the color for that particular client. And you can name the color that you want it to be, depending on the pathway that you want to follow for identifying and managing down that risk. But anytime you see something colored, it's because you're trying to alert your staff that there's an at-risk category for them to be aware of. A lot of different things. As I get in here, I may need to change my diagnosis. I may need to go to e-prescribing if I'm a doctor or I'm setting up for a doctor to sign. We do support the Doctor First e-prescribing. We have a very tight integration. And by the way, even though I can get to it from patient details, I can get to it from the chart. I can get to it from different form levels. I can get to it. Once again, the idea is for your staff and your doctors, if they need to get to e-prescribing, they can get it. While we're talking about e-prescribing, let me also tell you the cool thing about 1011's integration with e-prescribing is that we can not only document the medications that you have, if you had any, but because we're part of the national e-prescribing database, it's called SureScripts, we can configure the system that says, hey, when Mr. Blank Chart comes in as a client, by default, please go out and check for every other pharmacy that is a participant in this program. in the SureScripts program and bring me down all medications you can find for the last year. That is automatic. It drops right down in the medications. Okay, just a nice little feature in there. Allergies I can update from here. Lab results I can update. You can also have user definable fields. So if you have something unique to the Bowen Center that you want to create, you can do that and have that information reside in the patient details. That was a long-winded run through of the patient details, but that's what's available in here. Let's go to the right side, talk about this part of the chart structure. When we work with you, when we talked about coming in and understanding your as-is process, here's the way it would work. All right, so we're out here for your substance abuse outpatient program, or it could be your child and adolescent program. It could be your elderly, but we'll come down and sit there and say, how do y'all run things around here? And you're going to tell us, well, the way we do it here is we do an intake. And we'll say, okay, what do you do with intake? Well, I need to, I'd like to find out where they came from. Good. Let's get a referral form. Well, I need to get certain consents. Okay. If it's your residential, I may need to get some patient belongings and get an intake. Not a problem. We'll put all that information up in intake. Assessments. And please realize we've created hundreds of assessments, thousands of forms. You have access to this library. This is just an example. But say in here, you say, well, we do intake and we assess and we create a treatment plan. And then we write progress notes. We have different people write different progress notes. Well, not a problem. I've got some examples in here, but you come and say, you know, I was talking earlier with a gentleman. He said, we do the Columbia suicide. Was there a question?
Well, Charles, I was going to ask you on your assessments here.
Yes.
Do you have the one that measures anxiety as well? I know there's the one with the PHQ-9. I forget the code one that does anxiety.
The answer is yes, and of course I don't have it in here.
The GAD.
But let me
Yes, the GAD. Yes.
Yeah.
One
GAD 11, I think it is.
Well, let me see what we have available. Let me give a quick sidebar here. Let's say that you come in and say, guys, I appreciate you setting this up. They left the GAD 7 out. Oh man. Well, who's got the ability to go in and add a form? Well, Charlie's the supervisor. He can go to the form manager, and I'm looking at this Oasis 818 program. So hang on, it
would be an OMH program.
Well, I'm with you. Give me a second. I'm
Pretty sure we have the GAD.
Oh, we do. I was just trying to.
I'm just not sure which one. If it's the 11, no, I'm not sure.
Hold on for a second. There we go. I had to do a little thing. Okay, let me look for, and now I'm just going to Oasis 818. All right, so now I can look at that. I'm going to go to the active program. And now I want here, this, by the way, is the chart that we were looking at earlier, but now I want to, let me see if I've got a GAD in here. Okay, here's the GAD 7, and let me take a look at it. I'm looking at the form template. Here's what it looks like. Is this what you were looking for?
It's exactly what I was looking for, because what it does, it helps my clinicians to use this form to identify generalized anxiety disorder without having to go through the DSM-5. So, because this measures it out pretty succinctly. So thank you.
Nice thing about it, we have created tons of these. But I was kidding earlier. I said, do we have the one you need now? Oftentimes not. We also give you a tool so that you can build your own without having to be an expert, software developer to do that. So anyway, but this particular case, I have got, let me see if I can move that up one. I'm not going to worry about it today. I'm going to save. I'm going to set that active. So now when I look at Mr. Blank chart, let me go ahead and close that out. And let me see if now I'm going to open up a new chart. And as I look in here, look at that. Now the general anxiety disorder comes up. So now it's intake. I can assess it. And now your clinician can then talk to your client. We can get that. We're going to get this. By the way, I'm not a clinician, but I slept at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So now, as I document everything, if I have completed all the information that is required for me to sign off or complete or lock this note, then I have already captured your signature ahead of time. I can get a patient signature in real time. But because I cleared all the hurdles, I clicked a button and now it's saved. Now look what happens. I'm gonna go ahead and yes, I want to save that. And now I close it, but here's what happens. See this, the GAD7? I crossed it out over on the table of contents because it started filling in over here. Can you see how that works? So now I can.
Do you have the pediatric symptom checklist?
I don't know. I can find out, and I'm glad we're recording this. Bob Curvis, our general manager, has joined us. I don't know if Bob is on and can answer that one, but if he can, please do.
I am on, and my question is it known by another name? Because it's not ringing a bell to me.
I don't think so. It's called the pediatric symptom checklist. It's commonly used in New York State,
Mhm.
and we use it in the Children's Mental Health Clinic.
So Chuck, I mean, what you could do, you could go to Form Manager and just search on checklist and.
Tell you what, because I've got a tight schedule today, I wrote it down. I'll check on that. Who asked that question? I don't have my list up.
Michael Zaretsky.
Oh, hey, Michael, I'll find out for you and get back to you on that. By the way, if we haven't, and if you're telling me if it's commonly used, we probably have it. We may have it under a different name, but like I said, we have 3,500. So I apologize for not knowing specifically right now.
Okay.
If there's no copyright issues, you can build it yourself if we have it. So, but I'll find out and get you a definitive answer post demonstration here. With that being said, a couple of things as I get in here, we were talking about it earlier. If you set up from a clinical standpoint that you say, I want to administer this particular assessment multiple times, we can set an alert to tell you when to do it. But just for now, if I want to do that second one, I can come in. I can now create the second one and move forward in here. I'm not going to finish it. I'm just going to save it for now, just so I can give you an example over here on the right. Now I can see as the chart starts filling out that I've completed this assessment. Oh, we see this one down here, version 1 has a lock on it. The one above it has a dog ear. We'll teach you what all these icons are. Lock means it's clean and green and good to go. Dog-eared means I still have some work to do on it. But the idea is that we will define by program what your workflow sections are. And then with you, we will define what forms you need to complete. Once we do that, set it in stone until you decide to change it. That will be your table of contents. Every time I get a new client, I open this up. Here's my workflow. Here are the forms. I open it. It crosses out on the right, completes on the left. As things move along, it gets more full. You can actually click a button and say, forget about the table of contents. I'll just do new versions of everything as we move forward in here. Okay. So that's a kind of an overview of what we have in the chart structure. Couple things as we move along here. I can do a couple of neat things in the chart. One, with a click of a button, I can move them forward or backwards. I'll give you a wait list example in a moment. But if you ever get into a situation where you have someone that's going to court or he's discharging and he wants a record of his files, we can support the ability to print those forms and save them to a PDF, print them out to paper, send them out via fax machine, however you want to do it. I can say, give me some, most, or all of those. I could say, give me this one and this one, however you want it to do. And I can print those out to paper or to PDF. So that's a possibility. We also support the exchange of information through our portal with health information exchanges, utilizing an industry standard called the CCD or CCDA document exchange in there. What is it? Yes.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. There's a question in the chat about current forms that are created. Can they be adjusted, the forms that are already in the system?
The answer is absolutely. Well, the answer is twofold for that. Number one, forms that we have created today, you can use them, but you can't, it'll take some software development work to adjust those. But Bob Curvis, I'm going to ask, don't we in development and on plans are from our existing library, eventually are they going to have the ability to create a new version and just tweak what they want on the existing forms?
That is the plan. So today, the answer is you can modify forms that you've created in FormLab. But today, if there's a form that I've built and you wanted changes to it, I would still have to change it. But the roadmap is that all these forms that Chuck's in FormLab right now, but any of the 1011 built forms, we'd like those to be able to be brought into FormLab, which is what Chuck is showing you right now, and to have the users be able to modify those forms as well.
Thank you, Bob.
Regs change and we need to ask some additional questions, or maybe there's a research study that's going on and we need to ask a couple of questions specific to that research we're doing.
Mhm.
Let me answer that for you. The answer is it depends. If it is a state reg and it's an OASIS form, 1011 will take responsibility for making that adjustment. That way we have consistency for all of our clients all over New York. However, if it's a research study and it's a pretty cool thing that you've put together and requirements change, you need to add something, absolutely, yes, you can. Because time is my enemy right now, let me just give you a quick idea. Earlier, I talked about a thing called the Form Lab. Forget about the 3,000 forms we've built. What about the ones that you want to build? We give you a tool. It's called the Form Lab where you can build it. And this is an example of the basic intake. This is just a sample one we did, but I want to go ahead and open that form. By the way, these are the controls that come in there, but it's called WYSIWYG. So you can go ahead and say, I want to add this information. I want to take a preview look at it. You can build your own forms in there, but and by the way, all these things about their yes, no buttons, drop down list, narrative boxes, text boxes, signatures. We'll show you how to do all that. The concept though is you can build your own basic intake form, but then if something changes, I can actually create a second version. I can take what's been created, I can copy that and then say open or create a new form, drop in my previous one, and then add or subtract. You with me on that? Yet?
Yes.
Very good. With that being said, let me tell you another thing. The cool thing about the Form Lab, this is not just a second grade form builder. Anybody can build a form like a Word doc. Well, maybe all people can't. But the nice thing about this is that when you build your form, you can define a lot of things. Is it billable or not? If it's billable, we have a whole set of rules that automatically plug in to make it a billable note. Is it a treatment plan note? We've already got the logic built in there. We have a portal so your clients can fill out forms online. Do you want to publish it to the portal? All these decisions that you make in there, throw in tons of logic. You can make decisions and say, can I populate this form from my patient details? Can I populate this form from data from another form? Can I make it available for the next form? So it's got logic built into it. And you don't have to pay us. You don't have to wait. You have that capability.
So a patient can, from their home, if we're seeing them remotely, can go on their computer and fill out a depression inventory, let's say, or
yes,
anxiety inventory.
Yes, sir. And they can sign it. And you know what? Would you guys like to see how that works?
Sure.
All right, give me just a moment. I'm going to need a second here.
Can it send reminders to patients about their appointments? Like email reminders or text reminders?
We interface with a third party, and the answer is yes, we can. However, there is a small fee for each reminder that you send out. We can send out appointment reminders, things of that sort. Yes, it is available. We can show you how that works during the deeper dive. Okay, folks, I need 10 seconds.
The other nice thing about when you use the Form Lab and build your own forms is you're not tied to any development cycle on my side or, packaging it up into a release. As soon as you've built your form, you can be using it, by lunchtime today if you want. So it gives you that flexibility where you don't have to rely on us to build something or roll it out or anything like that. When you build it and you're ready for it to be used, you can do that immediately. Which is nice.
Bob, hey, Bob, in response to your question in the chat. So
Yeah.
are you saying that all of our stuff that we've already got in our electronic record would not transfer over? We would have to do that ourselves? Because I see where Phyllis says we would have to scan everything in.
Yeah,
And seeing that's where our thing right now, everything's electronic. We don't have paper as any longer. How would that transfer over?
yeah, and I would say it probably, if you're talking about every form in someone's chart, it's not.
Like treatment plans or maybe even
Progress notes.
clinical notes, those would not transfer over is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, again, typically we don't do it. And the reason I say that is because, you know, your treatment plan and your current EMR, you know, probably some of those fields map to what our treatment plan looks like. But, you know,
Right.
we'd have to go through the effort of saying, okay, this field is this field in my system, this other field, I don't even have that. So what do we do with it? And then
It can't go over as just a scanned document.
No, well,
you could do
well,
that.
and let me point this out. Technically, it may be possible to bring all those documents over. Financially, the cost for us to do that mapping and development is prohibitive. And then you have to get a fee from Acumatic to do theirs. And then you have to get us to work together. And so while technically it may be possible, financially, it may cost more than the system cost.
Well, we would really need to have our clinical notes to transfer over. Those are like what we use every day.
Absolutely. So what a lot of folks do is they go ahead, and when it comes time to go live, they can print those last couple notes, bring them in as documents in that particular documentation section so they can review them. Okay. And then we've had people scan the whole archive so they don't have to pay 2 people to archive it and keep previous treatment plans, progress notes, et cetera, in the system in a PDF format. That's an inexpensive way, but to also answer your question, if you absolutely have to have those clinical notes and you have to have those treatment plans, we will engage in negotiation with Acumatic and come back with a cost, a time, and what is possible. But it will, please understand, it will be tens of thousands of additional dollars, but technically it's possible. You can make the decision if it is financially feasible for the agency. In the meantime, what we do is we pull over 67 different demographic data. We work with you on your insurance information, and we figure out how to minimize the change of switching over. So
if we're able to save the treatment plans or the notes at a PDF form and then convert it to CSV file, is that something that you can work with as far as trying to convert it to your?
We'll work very hard. Please realize that doing that work, it's technically maybe possible, and it will double the cost of your system. But absolutely, we can work on it.
Is it something that you've done before?
We are in a process right now of working with an agency that has got 80 locations across 20 states that is trying to do a migration, and they have spent $80,000 in the last 3 months. And the other company, and that's on their side to get it done right. Okay, so we're working with it. I don't even know what our bill has been, but it is possible, and we'll be more than happy to work with you on that. Just please be aware that financially it may impact the cost of the system. And in the meantime, other agencies, and we all have the same problem. How do I get off of a system that's failing? How do I manage to maintain or access the information I need from a clinical standpoint to document what I have going forward? We have ways of working with you that although not perfect, greatly assist you and minimize that change, especially in that week or two as you're switching over from the old client to the new.
if we were able to set up files for each client and put in the forms that we need to be attached to the new, the client in the new system, would you be able to work with us to attach that to each client? Sort of
Absolutely.
electronically, instead of us having to go in each one and do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have, and that's what a lot of our clients do. They say, you know what, as I go live, let me see who's coming in, and we'll work with our people. We'll document what they have, insert that in the chart right next to where I write my progress notes. And even though it's a PDF, I can reference the old one as I go into the new one.
So we wouldn't have to do that manually. We just have to figure out, well, these are the 3,000 patients that maybe we want a couple of treatment plans and maybe 5 or 6 of the notes, or 2 months of notes.
Now you're
And then
getting,
put in a file, and then
Yes, sir.
you'll be able to link it into the new system.
there you go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, that's
Okay.
probably workable.
So with that being said, I had a 5-minute demo. We're in transition on our portal from our old data center to our new, so that's not available. I've been looking for it, and unfortunately, I can't find it. I will send that link to you afterwards so that you can review it. Now let's. I'm going to have to get back on track with the demo, and we've got just a few minutes. I want to focus on a couple of things. Number one, does the Bowen Center support the golden thread in their documentation currently?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let me give you an example of how we do it. And I'm going to go up to give me a moment here.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to look at Mr. Joe Friday. Okay, and it is in Bowen outpatient, and I'll look at Joe Friday. Okay, I have an example. All right, so what I've done is I've opened up the chart, and in the interest of time, I've gone ahead and filled out some of this information so you'll get the idea. Okay, so now as I look over on the completed side of the chart, I can see that Joe Friday is an at-risk patient, and I have done, this is the NISCRI comprehensive assessment, and I'm just going to open it up because I've been working on it. Give me a chance to walk through what a sample assessment looks like. Please realize we have many, but one of the things that we do is that we try to avoid forcing our clients to scroll up and down and left and right. We broke everything up into tabs, with the benefit being that whether you're working on a smaller laptop like me or a big screen, the information that you have is up here. Let me just walk through the sample assessment. We can get to the information a couple of ways. I can start with education by clicking on the tab. I have check boxes. I have the ability to add narrative. I do have this thing called this green check mark. This is a compliance check mark. This makes it mandatory. This is part of when you look at your forms, when you say, I've got to have this filled out, a green check mark shows up. What does it mean? It means if your provider does not complete that information, they cannot sign off on it. It's a great way to help encourage them into compliance. As we move, I can move from tab to tab sequentially. Now I'm looking in this particular assessment. It's a comprehensive assessment, some cool school information, housing information, employment. But if your client doesn't necessarily follow your path, they tend to bounce around, not a problem. I can move with them. They have suicide issues. By the way, I may have the scissors embedded in a form. Okay. There's lots of different things out there. If I need to update medications, I can jump to it. I can move to it. I can do tobacco, alcohol in this particular assessment. But as I go through my assessment, at some point, I need to document what this client's needs are. And in this particular case, I've documented 2. One, this is a substance abuse client. Obviously, he's got some withdrawal systems. It's something that he wants to deal with now. He also has some family communication skills. That's something he wants to deal with now. And it could be, let me add a third need in here. Let's say I heard someone mention anxiety earlier. Let me add anxiety questions in here. Now I'll make a decision. Is this active? Do I defer this for now? Do I need to send it out, or does he just not want to do it? Let's keep it as active right now. I have just added a third need in here. Okay, so now I'm not going to go through all the compliance because I just want to give you an example where I added 3 and prioritized 3 of those needs in here. Pause. Let's fast forward. Now I need to come in and create a treatment plan. I've already started in here, so I'm going to open it back up, and it opens up and I've got several tabs. I've got, remember what I said about information pulling through, about us, the date the plan was started, what program are they in? Is this an initial review or revision? All these things are mandatory. They have to be filled out. I've added a diagnosis, a primary and a secondary in there. I've got some goals that I've already created in here, but let's say that I want to create a new goal. So I'm going to, in my treatment plan, I create a new goal. What was it that I talked to him about in assessment? Did I have some prior? Oh yeah, we talked about anxiety at the very end. Now with the click of a button, that thread pulls the information or pushes that information from the assessment into the treatment plan. And then I could come in and either document what my desired outcomes, goal statements are. I can create a library of goals if I want to simplify what I'm adding in here. I can accept it. There's still room for me to not only reduce anxiety, but now we can add more information. You know, once again, if that's too small, I can enlarge it and work depending on the monitor I have, depending on the size that I want. But this is the way that I would create and a goal in my treatment planning, being able to pull the information in from the treatment plan. I would gather whatever additional information I needed. I can get signatures. By the way, I can get them directly from a client. Well, by the way, these red warnings just came up. If you ever get into a situation, you ever try to buy anything on Amazon, use your credit card and you forget those 3 digits on the back, and it takes you right back to what you need to complete. That is the way the 1011 is set up. We take you back to what needs to be completed with an asterisk. I didn't want to get there. I tried to sign something without completing what you determined had to be completed, and it takes me back. It will help guide me into completing the information that I need to. Going into the signatures, you can determine who needs what signature. Can everybody sign at once? Can I set it up that it needs to be signed by the client and then by the clinician and then by the supervisor and then by the doctor? However you want to set it up, we can support that.
And the client sign the treatment plans or any forms
No,
remotely?
Bob, help me with that.
No, not today. Not through the, when you say remotely by who?
Say like in a telehealth session?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our visits are telehealth, so,
Yeah.
you know, probably a large percentage of clients are going to continue to do telehealth. So, you know, the ability to have them sign like a treatment plan or any types of forms or intake forms would be a very good feature.
Mhm.
Oh, it is. We're working on it. It's on our list of things to do, and we are pedaling as fast as we can. Not there yet, though. I hate to say no, but I think you need to know where we are. We're working on it. We've got a roadmap. We just have priorities that we have to focus on. We're getting there as quick as we can. Eventually, you will have that capability. Fair enough?
Where's your decision to admit?
Well, in this sample form, let me see what I have. And intake admission. I don't have one here. So what I would have to do is, I'll tell you where it is. It's in my
Chuck,
3,000. Yeah.
Chuck, there's a number of forms. We've got the Oasis TA, I don't know, it was 3 or 4 admission decision forms. We've got some assessments that have the admission decision built into them as a tab. So, you know, you're gonna pick what you like from a form, whether you want it standalone or to be part of an assessment.
To answer your
Right,
question.
part of an assessment will be better. we're trying to eliminate the number of forms the
Yeah,
doctor has
so-
to sign.
Yeah, Chuck, if you search on SA 035, for example, this is an initial assessment. Go to V2 and right-click view on it. And you can see there's a tab here at the end, admission decision. You know, in this particular form, it was built into the assessment. Again, it's more of an initial or brief assessment, but yeah. There's.
It's excellent for us. Thank you.
And please realize you can build your own forms. Earlier, I showed an assessment and I had a suicide assessment in there. So if you didn't want to have an assessment and a scissors form, you can build your own form, or we probably have some available that would combine those, just like Bob showed you, where we could condense the admission decision. And my only caveat on that is if is an OASIS form for the admission decision and we have to submit pass, it may be necessary to keep that form, but we'll defer that to a little bit later on. But please realize that I brought that up because one of the other things that we can do is submit pass information out there for you. Okay, third thought, just to finish the thread of the golden thread. We've done our assessment. You saw where we pulled prioritized needs down into service plans. As we created the goals, we had the drop down. Now it's time for me to write a progress note. If I want to write a new progress note, certain things are in green. We make it mandatory. We say, let me back this up because it's not real time, 10:14. I'll pick a time in there, or you could have just written the minutes in there. Let's say that it was an assessment visit that we had, and then the goal that I had set up in the treatment planning is now available for me to drop down into my progress note. In addition to drop downs, I can go in today, we discussed, or, whatever narrative that you have. Okay. And then we have the ability for you to create your own template libraries. Not that we're going to boilerplate everything, but say, for instance, you as from a clinical director standpoint, say, I want these people to follow a DAP or a SOAP methodology. We can actually default this into the narrative so that we can kind of help prompt our people to go through the subjective, the objective, the assessment, etc. There's lots of templates you can build for the individual, or you could say enterprise-wide or program-wide. These are the templates, and we want to put those prompts in there to help you fill that out. As I get my signatures, if I've completed everything that I need and I've got my information, I click on it, I get the signature. Let's say, do you guys ever get into a situation where you have an intern or a probationary clinician and you say, for the first 90 days, I don't want you to sign anything. I'd prefer, or our business rule is, I want you to go ahead and send that to a supervisor. Then we can set that rule up. They can't sign, they can route to, it's called signature routing. And I would hit the save button. They would save it. They could go back and take care of their business. And what happens, remember when I was telling you earlier about that alert manager over here on the left, at some point in there, this is going to show up and tell me that you've got a new one to complete. Here it is. And now if I'd set the dinger up, it would let me know. I could go to my alert manager and see it. But let's now change roles. I'm no longer Chuck the intern. I am Kathy the clinician. And I look over here and I say, oh, wow, I've got a signature requested. This was routed from that intern. Now with the click of a button, I can open up that client's chart, go right to that progress note, review it, and then sign it. See how that works? Simple.
What about co-signatures? Where you need two or more signatures. Therapist signs it and doctor signs it.
Yeah, not a problem. Like I said earlier, we set up the signature rules around the way that you, for each program, for each whatever the regulatory compliance is, we can match it. For instance, everybody can sign at their leisure, or I need to have client, provider, then doctor sign, We can set it up so that it's sequential. However you guys want to run it, this can be configured to match your business process. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so with that being said, and Phyllis, thank you. I'll be there in 5 minutes. I just want to show a couple of supervisor reports. And let's talk a little bit about reporting. 2 things. I'm going to go to reporting right now. My engine has been asleep. It always takes a few minutes when it's waited more than an hour. So by the way, we have canned reports in here. You can set them up into your favorites, which I didn't do. But over here, we have administrative reports. I've got compliance reports. I've got an excellent bed board. We'd love to show you that during our on-site demo. But now, let me ask you this, just a question. Do you ever run into a situation where on occasion your folks may be a little slow in completing their progress notes?
Yes.
All right, well, you're not alone. And so we have several reports on how to get that. I'm trying to remember where they are, and naturally I'm having trouble with it. So I've got a search thing. What's that thing? Unsigned billing. What's that report called, Bob?
To progress note
Appointment
reconciliation.
to progress note.
No,
Yeah,
I just
sure.
want unbilled. How about unbilled or signed but not written?
Well, here's what you really want. It's I would show them the appointment to progress note reconciliation.
I will get there in a moment.
All
Let me start with the simple, then I'll get to the more complex, and let me get into compliance. And here's what I was looking for. We'll start simple. So this is called billable but not locked. Remember when I showed you earlier, if you hit all the green check marks, if you filled all the information in, if you closed the bar, then you would be able to sign and add your signature in there. And the little icon on the completed side of the chart would show that particular form was locked. Well, now I'm going to show you what happens when it's not locked. While I'm going there, let me show one more position tool. And it's called the day sheet, because this is just one of several tools that we have. First, let's say that I'm a clinician and it's the end of the day and I don't know what I have here, so I'm going to back it up for a few days. I can run a report. It's called the day sheet, saying what's going on and what do I need to complete. So I picked a date range and I picked a whole month, but I call this looking for the whole. I look at the day sheet and I say, what do I still have going on out there? Well, I can see that Jerry Belushi has a visit type. He is in here for individual therapy, but it's not billed. Why isn't it billed? It's because it's not locked. Oh, I need to take care of that. Okay, well, if I have an assessment that's not completed, I can just go in here and find out where the holes are so that I can go and take care of it. By the way, the same tool can be expanded to work for a supervisor, so I can check not just my own, but I can check across the whole program or across the whole enterprise. That's just one of the tools we have to keep the providers organized. But now let's say I'm a supervisor and I want to look at who hadn't signed their progress notes. Well, how does this work? I can come in here and say, let's go from 07, 03 to 021. Heck, I can't type. Let me go and from the calendar.
Would the system hold back the claim if it doesn't have a completed progress note or a treatment plan?
This will never even get to your billing people to review if you set the business rule up as the answer. Absolutely, it will prevent them. Or you could say,
it would put the claim on, it would put the appointment on hold.
Well, no, that is not, there's a lot of decisions to be made in there, but let me answer your first question first. Should I send the bill out if I don't have the required stuff, if I don't have the signature, if I don't have a diagnosis? If your business rule is no, then we'll set it up. It won't go that way. What Phyllis is about to show you is a scrubbing process that's going to check to make sure errors don't happen. But the first level of scrub is the business process that we with you define. And if you tell me if they haven't signed it, please don't send it to billing, because A, it won't get paid, or B, it'll get clawed back down the road. So if that's a business process, we bake it in. The billing folks will never get it because that's the way we set the rules up. You with me on that?
So then we'll get a report
Absolutely. Hold that thought. I'll be
of,
there.
of what's being held up
Yes,
and
absolutely.
who and why.
Amen. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Let me finish this report and then I'm going to flip it over to Phyllis and we'll talk about billing. This is the way their reports look. It's got a real good Microsoft look and feel. I'm coming here saying, what's my date range? How far do I want this information to go down to? And then you make some decisions, which you can save this as your report later. In this particular case, I want to find out who hadn't signed their progress notes. Well, do you want that for some, most, or all of your programs? Some, most, or all of your locations? Some, most, or all of your visit types? I'm doing everything right now. It's just a demo database, and it's going to go through and run through the report. And right now I'm going back for just over a month because I need to have something to show you here. But it's going to run this report. And now to answer your question, here's what the report is going to show. Well, in just a moment when it does that, a couple of other nice things to know. As this report comes up, do I have the ability to print it? Yes, I do. Do I have the ability to go ahead and save this as a PDF, as a CSV, or an Excel file? Absolutely, I do. Did I pick too much information to go back and run the report on? Yes, I did. You know, because what I did was I sat there and I ran it back from our entire database from the very beginning of time because I misspelled and put in 2002 instead of 2020. So this, while we're looking at this, gives me a chance to tell you, and I'll show you this a little bit more later, but one of the other things that we can do is go in and run other reports, because in addition to the canned reports that we're running, we give you the ability to take most of the information that we capture every day and let you create your own reports, your dashboards, your drill downs. We include a dozen reports. Let me kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at here. So everything we've looked at to date has been from the operating servers, if you will. It's running the business day to day. Every night about 2 a.m., we take the information from your operating servers and we push it over to another server. It's a reporting server. You may have heard the term a data warehouse. What information? Because I want to create my own reports. What information can I work with? I can get appointment information, lots of it. What appointments did I have? What was canceled by us? What was canceled by them? Who was checked in? I can pull in billing information by bill date. If I create, someone had asked about being able to take your own forms and create them and modify them. I can not only take them, but I can report on them. I can use all the data elements that you create in your report and be able to report on that in a regular table report or a dashboard like we're looking at right here. Patient information, patient details, all of that information is there. What happens with it? I then can decide, how do I want to look at my data? This is a Microsoft tool. You're familiar with Microsoft. You can say, I want to look at this data. I want that to be pie charts. I want that to be a tree chart. It'd be great to pull a map in here, look at where my customers are coming from. However you want to set it up, we give you the tools that you can build your own. What can you do with that information? Well, this is an administrative chart. This CEO wanted to come in and say, how are we doing and how are we growing with our customer base? We said, how do you want to create your dashboard? He said, I want to look at the information by referral date. So we said, okay, over this period of time, we're going to look at the data from the date of referral. The next thing that you can do is, these are called cards. They're just snapshots. And it says, based upon the information I have, how many patients do I have? What was the average age at admit? Then he said, I'd like to be able to look at my clients by gender. We created a pie chart. He said, I want to be able to look at my clients by disposition, who's admitted, who's in pre-admitted or referral, who is not admitted. I wanted to look at where my clients came from zip code. This is all the information from your patient details. We're just taking it from data, turning it into knowledge. It'll become your wisdom. Then he said, I want to come in here and say, what do my clients look like by age range? Even better, if I want to resort on a particular piece of data with the click of a button, then I can come in here and resort from my entire universe to my 10 to 19. You see how all the numbers changed. You have that capability. When it comes time to patient outcome information, we have that information. You can get to it. A lot of neat stuff that's available in there. If we're fortunate enough to come and do a deep dive, we can really get under the hood and look at that. And with that, I have to apologize because I had no idea. I wanted to find out everybody from 208 programs who hadn't signed a progress note. Mea culpa. We can show you more of that later. My bad.
Chuck, let me just make a comment about really what I think in the service-based world. And you know, they're going to be scheduling appointments, and the appointment is just your plan to see your clients, right? And either those clients showed up or they didn't. I had the session or I didn't. So really, before I generate my charges for any given day, because you now need to bundle same day services and things like that, you want to know exactly what you should be creating charges for, right? You want to maximize your revenue. So if you had 50 appointments scheduled for Monday and 40 of those appointments were no-shows, before I create a charge in the system, really, you want to know that you have 40 progress notes written, and they were for those services that were in your calendar. So there's a report that pretty much tells you that, you know, for any given day, do I have everything I should have? And once you have everything that you should have, then you can bill, let's just say Monday, and you can bundle same day services if that's what Monday showed. You don't have to do anything different. The system does it. But really, what you want to know from a billing standpoint is Monday's done. I've got everything I need, right? So it's a matter of creating a charge and now sending it out the door. And you need something to tell you that, you know, your plan was to have 50 sessions today, but I only had 40 and I had the 10 no-shows. And really, so what you need to know is, do I have 40 notes that I can create charges off of? That's what that report that, you know, we were talking about is going to tell you. And with that, when it comes to maximizing productivity and things like that, you don't want to go through the whole process and have the biller calling someone up saying, hey, you don't have a diagnosis, you don't have this or that. So it can start at the progress note. Like, I don't want my clinicians to sign a billable progress note if I don't have a diagnosis, a primary diagnosis documented for this patient. And let it start right there before it has to have some biller calling someone up saying there's no diagnoses on this guy's chart. Nip it in the bud as soon as possible, and it'll streamline things going forward.
Thank you, Bob. At this point, we're at 11:30, and I apologize for running a little bit late, but I've asked Phyllis to come in and help us talk about billing. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes before we transition over, and from a clinical and operational standpoint, see if we can answer any questions. We can take a couple of questions, and then we're going to turn around and really focus on everything from eligibility to authorizations to setting up modifications and variations for particular payers. But with that being said, as we come to the tail end of the clinical piece, I'd like to open up the floor for a couple of questions. Speak now or forever hold your peace, or until the next time we meet. Phyllis, I have brought up the patient detail screen with payer information. Can you take control of my screen, or do you just want to tell me what to do and I'll push the buttons?
Yeah, I can't take control of your screen.
Not a problem. You tell me where to go.
Okay, so in this screen here is where you would typically set up the patient's primary insurance and any other insurance necessary to complete your billing. It also allows you to put in authorizations if you want to select the authorization tab. And in here, you can put your authorization number, what insurance the authorization is for. You can choose to do it by diagnosis or procedure if that's what the authorization is for. Then on the, yeah, you can put that in there. On the second tab, start date is where you're going to put your authorization information, the date it starts, it ends, how many uses. And then just put in 10 and 10 uses. Up,
There you
yeah,
go.
right
you.
there. 10 and 10. And then you can decrement by services or units. Or
So what
units with,
so in other words, if I have 10 services and that client comes in and I write a progress note, I have an auth for 10, it's going to decrement down to 9. One of the other
Yes.
nice things that we can do in here is we can set low level marks. So from a business process standpoint, you say, you know what, when I get down to 3 auths, I want to send an alert to the provider. When I get down to 2, I want to send an alert to my clinician and their supervisor. And then we can actually do other things that can warn you or prevent you from providing a service when you have 0 auths in there. Is that right?
yeah.
Thank you.
And it's also reportable.
So that's the way I would set that up. Now, what would I do?
Save.
I say,
You want to save all this information. So this is setting up the patient for, billing a progress note. And as Bob had explained previously, the most effective report to do prior to do your billing process is the progress note reconciliation report. This will allow you to make sure that any bundled claims can be bundled without having to go back and rebundle a service that wasn't completed in a timely manner. So we're going to go the first part of this after you finish the progress note reconciliation report is my billing. My billing will holds all of your completed, signed, and locked notes.
hold on for a moment. Let me open up my billing.
Yep.
So let me just re-summarize what Phyllis said. Remember we said about the rules that we bake in, the green check marks and things that have to be done by a person that has the right credential, the right time. Once all of that is completed, those that have been completed move on to a second level of scrubbing. We call this the My Billing. Now, the My Billing screen is what we're looking at here. Once again, this is role-based. If you set this up so only your billers can see it, that's what they're going to see. If you want supervisors to look, however you want it set up, it can do. By the way, there are different scrubbing rules and things to look at depending on, for instance, we have different tabs here that you can look at. Outpatient progress notes may be different than residential notes, maybe different than case management notes. We've set up outpatient progress notes as an example for today's demo. And Phyllis, if you don't mind, let me just kind of give you, let me take it to the next level. So now I've cleared the first hurdle, everything that was locked, everything that could be billed, because someone asked before, if you haven't done a certain thing, can it move forward? The answer is no. You determine what those things are. A lot of times your payers will help you determine what those things are. But everything that does make it through, now we want to go and look for other trouble. Now, what am I looking at here? These are all the notes that were locked. They've now go to the billing. What do I look at? This is the date that it was locked versus the actual date of service. Here's the client, their med record number. This is the information that is in here. by the way, we've cheated the system, so we had some errors to show you. For instance, here's one that has no diagnosis. We're going to run a report in a moment to show you that. Another thing that I want to highlight here is I have one client, Anna Baker, and it's highlighted in green. Why? Because her eligibility was checked. She was determined to be eligible for insurance earlier. When we do that, it automatically turns to green. I'm showing it in here because let's say you're now moving through the process and for whatever reason, eligibility wasn't checked. We give you one last chance to either remove the note from the list or check the eligibility in real time. We also have the ability, especially important for Medicaid clients, to run a first of the month check to find out who's eligible, who may have moved, things of that sort. So with that being said, we have all of these notes that have made to the second level. Now we want to scrub and look for more trouble. And so the second level of scrub, and by the way, I'm just going to make this a test batch, is I want to go through all 82 of these and find out if I have any other problems, which I do. So
Well, you
I
have to select them all.
Oh, yes, that's what, thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a button down here that says select all or unselect all, or you can pick and choose the ones that you want. Now let me try it, Phyllis. So now we scrub those 82 notes and it comes back. And if this was not a test batch, only 10 of those would have moved forward to the next level of scrub. Now we have 72 that have problems. And now I can run a quick report. A new tab has shown up at the top. It says, what are my errors? Like I said, we kind of broke the system, so we had some obvious things to show you. But through all those 82 notes, depending on what you determine were the requirements, okay, we're going to go look for it. In this particular case, for Mr. Bon Jovi, we didn't have a supervisor. For Mr. Johnny Shelby, no diagnosis. For this person, no authorization. Now, what happens? I can report, I can send this out as I can print it as a spreadsheet. I can email it to my supervisors, or I could just copy and paste that report, put it in the instant messenger, send it to the supervisor saying, please have your folks clean this stuff up. So that's the second level of scrubbing that we have. Any other comments or tools that from a RCM standpoint you find beneficial from the My Billing Queue? Phyllis.
And it scrubbed for things like AM, PM errors, sessions. You know, I've had people accidentally put in sessions for 600 minutes, let's say. That's really a 30-minute session. They put in the wrong time, or can those things be screened out?
Yeah.
Great question on that. And while it's not here, where can I show that in setup, Bob? Can
Go
I
to visit types. Set up, visit
Set
type.
up.
All right. Great question, by the way. We're going to go under the hood for a second and give you some ideas about this. Is once again configuration for your different programs.
You know, try individual session or something.
All right. So we go in here under. So here are the rules that you were talking about. Go ahead, Bob. Walk me through this.
So we don't necessarily want the clinical folks to know I did a 90832 or a 90834 or anything like that. We want them to know I did an individual session, a group session. So we use visit types. And in this case, we called this one individual session. And then based on the duration of the progress note that the clinician is filling out, it will create a charge based on the duration of that note. So in this case, if someone tried to write an individual session progress note for anything less than 25 minutes or anything more than 90 minutes, the system wouldn't allow them to sign the note. It would say, you know, I don't know, visit type not acceptable for duration or something like that. I don't know what it says, but this is how you can really hone in on, you know, in this case, this individual session on what procedure codes you want tied to that.
Bob, is there a setup screen that says you can't like stop a visit before it started, or I can't write two progress notes at the same time? where can we look at those rules?
Yeah, go to setup clinic options. He's talking about hard stops and go to forms, maybe. Next, the one before that. Yeah, on the right-hand side. So, you know, you can set down a little bit, Chuck, down, yeah, right there. So, you know, you don't want to necessarily have a clinician be able to assign two notes for, say, two different services that over the times overlap each other. So there's different kinds of hard stops you can set here to say, you know, no one can sign something with a future date or something like that. So, you know, it's to your liking what you want to kind of turn on or turn off here from a progress note.
Does that help?
Overlapping.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm asking about.
Yeah,
Excellent.
That's
Excellent.
perfect.
yeah.
Excellent. And we have a lot more stuff. The devil's always in the details, but that's a great question. And we really love this because especially when you go in and say with the individual sessions, we take the onus away from the client. You just tell me, and by the way, we can drive this off of a scheduler, okay? So that when I schedule a client for a visit type, they just need to type in how many minutes they spent or the start time and the end time. You saw me do that earlier. We'll figure out which CPT code it is, whether it's a brief, normative, or extended. Is it billable or non-billable? We, you know, this is all part of the setup. This is where, you know, we're fortunate enough that our clients average higher than a 95% first pass acceptance rate. And the reason being is because 1011 gets very, very granular with our software and with experts like Phyllis to get down with you for every program, for every visit type. I mean, the devil's in the details. There's a ton of development that you're seeing right here. That means that once we have it set up, tested, everybody's thumbs up, not only clinically is it going to work well, but when it gets time to get paid, we're going to have these bills cleaned up. And with that being said, nothing's ever perfect. And even though we've now completed a second level of scrub, right? First was business process and regulatory compliance, the green check marks, if you will. Now we've checked for other problems that come in here. Let's take a look at the 10 charges or more that have moved forward because we do a third level of scrubbing before it goes out.
Yeah. Hey, Chuck, can I just make one more comment when you were on that visit type screen?
Yes.
And this was just another type of, I'll call it scrubber. And if you scroll over to the right, so you're going to create all these different types of visit types or services. Go to the right, but you got to use your slide bar at the bottom there.
Oh, that right.
Yeah, sorry, right
My
there.
other-
And
my
you can
other
see
right.
right in the middle there, it says require a valid treatment plan. And this is more from an audit standpoint, like if someone's payer's gonna come in and try to find things you build that you shouldn't have, and because you didn't have, in this case, a valid treatment plan. So you can set up your services, let's just say your individual sessions, your groups. You wouldn't do it on an assessment, really, but individual and group where you may not want the clinician to be able to assign a progress note if there is no valid treatment treatment plan in place, right? And that way you're not, you know, sending out a bill for something that you might later get your hand slapped because someone came in and said, hey, you know, I paid you and you didn't have a valid treatment plan in place, which a lot of our customers use and like. And quite honestly, at that point, it's almost too late because you probably already did the service. So you can also enable it on the scheduling side where I'm going to schedule an individual session and the scheduler will pop up a window that says, you know, I'm going to let you schedule the appointment, but just so you know, Bob doesn't have a valid treatment plan in place. So now it gives you some time to get that treatment plan done so that, when that appointment does take place tomorrow, the next day, whenever, the treatment plan's been signed and I can conduct the service and bill for it and feel good about getting paid. And no one's gonna come and slap my hands later.
Or so we hope. Thank you, Bob. I think what you're seeing here, we'll hope that you're seeing is we have a lot of experience. The reason we come up with things that say, please warn or prohibit people from scheduling a new visit if they don't have a treatment plan is because our customers came to us and said, man, we got a clawback. We got hammered on that. What can you do to help us? We've been doing this for 15 years. You're seeing a lot of experience to help you do your not only services that you provide, but make sure you get paid for it. Third level of scrubbing, once we've cleared the regulatory compliance, the green check marks, and we've gone through the My Billing scrub. Phyllis, what are we looking at here? And how do we get this out to a clearinghouse or to the actual payer?
So I have a, so I have a question concerning, let's say if the clinicians don't complete the treatment plan on time, and then they complete the treatment plan, but it's not on the same day that we're billing. Could you do a range of dates that will pick up the ones that were now completed and have all the documents that are needed? So let's say they're missing like a progress note, and then they finish the progress note.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this gets to, let me see if we have the report. This is the report that Bob was referring to earlier. And originally I was going to do the who hadn't signed their progress note. This goes a step further because one of the huge problems you have is, hey, we have patients scheduled and they came in and we started a note, but we didn't sign it. Or we have patients that were scheduled to come in, but we didn't know they didn't sign a progress note because they never checked in. And if we don't find the problem, we're leaking money even before they come in. This is a note that will help you reconcile the progress notes that should have been written all the way up to the front side. How does it work?
But my question is, I'm the billing manager. So, clinicians are late in doing their notes. Clinicians may be a little bit late in completing the treatment plan, but the visits may still be valid.
Got it.
How do I pick that up? Well, maybe they completed it 5 days later. So how do I pick that up in the billing?
That is a great question. Phyllis, can you handle that one or should I throw it to Bob?
Bob?
Okay.
Yeah, what is the, I'm not sure I understood the question.
He wants, so go ahead and please re-ask that question.
So my question is, one of the things that we do track is, if they've completed all the documents they need in order for them to bill. So what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, can I go through, it could be a week, it could be a couple days to complete the documents to release the claim to the clearinghouse. So how do I now pick up that appointment?
I think
that was completed.
I believe I have your answer. And the answer is this. Now, this is the My Billing. This is the biller's screen, okay? And what you would do is you'd come up and say, okay, for the last 2 weeks or whatever my date range is, run it from this date range. And then you're going to get a list of completed progress notes that have not been scrubbed and move forward to the final process. Now, how does that get in here? Simple. I believe what you're saying is, say they did this, okay, on this date, this is the date of service, but which was in 2017, but they didn't finish signing it and locking it until later. So they may have been 5 days. That's okay. You're saying, okay, for the last 2 weeks or from the beginning of time through today, what progress notes have been signed that have not gone through the second scrub? So is that what you're looking for? Even if they were late, you're saying from the beginning of time to today, what has been signed but not reviewed by me. Is that the kind of report you're looking for?
No, I'm saying,
Oh.
as part of the billing process.
Yeah.
If they're, if they're a day or two late on completing the note or the treatment plan, I want to be able to pick it up when I do the billing. So everything's completed, would it go into the billing batch? Can I say, give me everything that's been completed within the last like 3 months?
Will show up right here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I would say this, I mean, there's, your definition of late, signing the note late, that's probably a different answer by every agency we talk to, right? Some want them, the notes done before they go home that day. Some give them 1 day, some give them 48 hours. It's whatever it is, but what will trigger a bill is the signature on a note. And let's just say that you billed, let's stick with my Monday example, right? Let's say you had 50 appointments, 10 no-shows. I did, 40 people checked in on the schedule, meaning on the scheduler, 40 people we had services with. Maybe you created charges for 39 of them. You ran the report I was talking about and you said, I don't have 40, I got 39. I'm gonna create my charges for Monday, but you can do that and it's not wrong. But now that one missing note, let's just say that hasn't been signed yet and didn't show up in my queue here and the report's telling me I don't have it. Let's say that was done 4 or 5 days, a week later. Heck, it could have been a month later for all intent and purposes, but Chuck's right. You would go to this screen and this screen will always show you services in the form of a progress note, a billable progress note that was signed. And I can run this thing from a month ago to today to see if there's any late notes that showed up in the queue. So if I ran this thing for, say, a month ago, there would be my one note from Monday that I didn't have when I created charges that I can still create a charge for. Is that kind of what you were getting at?
Yes, you answered my question.
All right.
Excellent.
In a long way, but I hope I answered it.
Where would we go next, Phyllis?
Well, after we process my billing and create all of the charges, we go to insurance billing. And
so now what we can do in the insurance billing, and insurance companies have different formats. It used to be, and it's less now, but you would have a payer that says submit directly to me through my portal in my format, and we can support that. Okay. However, more and more people are running everything through a clearinghouse, if you will. It's like the post office. We just get it to the post office for the claim going out. They'll figure out what address it needs to go to. Is it going to Magellan, Beacon, the Blues? Do you guys use a clearinghouse now? And if so, which one? Or does anybody know?
We use Gateway EDI
Gateway
and Ability
we can support multiple.
and eMed New York.
Okay, so eMedney, Gateway. I know we have Ability and eMedney, but I'll tell you what we've done with Abilities. We've written a really tight integration that will, I think you're going to like. But let's just say, for example, that all those, so we've done 2 levels of scrubbing already. Now we're going to be looking for loop errors, HIPAA errors, things of that sort before we go out, or a 3rd level of scrub. I could pick for the individual, but I'm going to pick for the Ability right now. I'm going to do institutional. Now, just like with Gateway or, well, not, I don't want to speak to Gateway. eMedney is straight to eMedney. Ability can support multiple payers. So I'm about to scrub and I can see inside of here for ability, I've got 224 claims on the institutional side. And I want to take a look inside of there and
Select charges. You want to look at the charges?
select
Yeah.
those charges. And now I really, before I do the scrub, have a last chance to look at, what am I looking at here, Phyllis?
It's just very basic information, the patient name, insurance, what clearinghouse it's going to, what program, the total charge. It doesn't give you detailed information.
If I need
But,
to get more detailed information, is there a way to get there from here?
No. And this screen, it would allow, you could view the charge. I didn't know that was in there. How about that? Right, you can look at the charge, but you can't make any changes to it.
So it's a view only capability.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
if we got offs, it'll give me a countdown, let me know if I have an off left or not, and I can review that information.
Mhm.
Okay, so now, or can I go back and actually view the visit for that particular claim?
Well, that's what we just did. We viewed the visit.
Oh, okay, thank you. I didn't know that. That's why I brought you here. Okay, so now that I have this, what should I do? Run a test batch?
No, you could do a pre-edit. Up at the very top, you have several buttons,
So-
one being pre-edit. And, you know, you have a lot of claims in there. I don't know if I would run a pre-edit for all those.
Too
claims.
late, I already
did. So what this does is it runs a pre-edit on all the claims that are sitting in that format that you checked. And then you can view the pre-edit report down at the very bottom. Yep. And it tells you what is wrong with the claim that it will not move forward to the clearinghouse. And these are all based on information you have set up on the insurance record.
Well,
Or the
it,
procedure code record.
Right, so let's say you run this, right? Will it keep a report that would tell me what claims are still in suspense? Like a
Yes,
suspense report?
yes, this would be the report right here that you could export to
Or would I
CSV
have a
or print.
cumulative suspense report? So I mean, I do a batch every day.
So it will
maybe a
not
couple of
ever,
claims.
these claims that are in error will always be in this section of ECR in the insurance billing queue. So you could cumulatively run a report.
Is it also possible to be able to drill down? Okay.
Sorry.
Can you tell us a little bit about the claims management module and how folks use that?
Sure, when we get, so to answer your question about cumulative errors, the errors that I have a pre-edit error will stay in this queue right here, this insurance billing queue, until you correct it. It won't move forward, or if you put it on hold. And then you can run a report for all those claims that you had put on hold. Does that answer your question? So once you look at the pre-edit report, you can go in and make all the corrections to those claims if you wanted to do it prior to submitting. And then you would just uncheck that test claim there. And then just hit the process button, and that would send all the claims in this queue to the clearinghouse.
So in other words, they wouldn't have to send it out to a file on a desktop and then upload a folder up to the portal?
Not through the ability process, no.
Very good.
How would you check eligibility before it goes out?
So go to the billing tab at the top.
Whoops, I'm sorry. Tell me where to go. Billing?
The
Okay.
billing at the top, banner
Uh,
bar,
Thank you.
eligibility. And so we do have, if you have a login to Exchange, you can send an eligibility file for your Medicaid patients. And you can also send an eligibility file to Ability through this process. It usually takes, you can do an instant eligibility on patient details, or you can do a batch eligibility through this screen through Ability.
So at the first of the month or the first week of the month, you could take everybody who's an active client and then do an eligibility check.
Correct. Or you could do it by scheduled on, like if you want to check eligibility for everybody that's scheduled for the next week, you could do it that way.
Will it tell me if there's been a change in insurance? Can I
No.
run a report? Okay.
It will just give you active and inactive insurance.
Do we have a
Is-
report? Do we have a report in the system?
Is that something that maybe you can do for us? Because that is a requirement that is essential. Otherwise, the checking eligibility one by one to see if it matches is a lot of work, very labor intensive. So that is something
Right.
that is a requirement that we're looking for.
We are currently working on a better solution than just letting you know whether it's active or inactive.
One report that we have is called the eligibility compare to insurance. And you can say, that's not it.
Nope.
So
No.
here, the real answer is this, is can we get better results from the payers, right? Because, we've got certain like Medicaid plans, they'll tell you if you check eligibility, they'll say, Bob doesn't have it with us, but he's got Fidelis. And, we're then able to take that response and, let you, the customer, know that Bob doesn't have Medicaid, let's just say he's got Fidelis. But the payer really sends the response back to us. And
But
if
you
they
can get that
say,
from, Emeni. If you send it to them, they'll send you back a response
yeah,
with the insurance company that they have. So
yeah.
I guess
yeah.
what I'm asking is, you have the insurance in the system. Can it compare it to what the response is coming back from Emeni?
And Phyllis, the answer is
No.
not today. Yeah.
Not today.
But what I'm saying is most of, that's eMedney. I mean, you're gonna send eMedney everybody and say, check all these.
Well, I would say about 95% are either
Medicaid.
crossovers or
Yeah.
Medicaid managed care. We're very
Well, I
heavily
get that.
Medicaid. So, that would be beneficial. Also, Ability could also, if you have something set up with them, Ability can check the commercial. And actually, they do have a report that, like a change report, that they can do too. But, we would like to be able to do it in the system, because that would cost us a couple $100 a month to do that. Right now, we really need something that will tell us if the insurance has changed. Otherwise, what happens is, we don't have enough labor to go through everybody to check if their insurance has changed. And believe me, being the billing manager, I get a lot of denials because on the system that we have now, we don't have that.
So what if, and I don't know if this is existing or possible, but what if we could say for last month, everybody had, or we have 100 people and 60 had Beacon and 40 had Magellan. And here are the 100 people. And I have a column that says, here's May. Can I run a column that says, and for June, and here's what their insurance is on the right, so that we can identify differences?
Yeah, I mean, we can do like monthly or bi-monthly. I wouldn't want to run it every day, because I don't think they change. But if you can get a report like that, that would be essential for us. Because then we can correct insurances before it goes out instead on the back end.
Right, just because really what you're looking for is the exception. If 90 out of 100 have the same insurance, but 10 have changed, please give us a way to highlight those 10 so you can manage to that exception.
That is 100% correct.
Let me take that back to our folks. We'll see what's possible, and I'll circle back and let you know.
Because, you know, I was also think that, you know, other facilities would probably be interested in that too.
I agree. I agree. I wrote it down. I'll talk to our folks. I'll respond through Larry, and we'll find out what's possible. Fair enough. Okay. So we've gone way over our time. Thank you, everyone, especially on the billing side, for staying a little bit longer. I will follow up with Larry after in the next day or so. We're coming to the close of our presentation. Once again, I'd like to open up the floor for any questions, comments, anything else that we can help with.
How do you handle the APG billing? And how is that done through the system?
Yeah.
Do you discount 10% for the second visit? How is the rate for each payer calculated?
So that's two separate things. The setup to identify APG is in clinic options. Setup clinic options, yeah. The second general tab. And use APG billing right here. And then set up billing program defaults. You
Hold
can leave
on.
this open.
Oops, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, that's okay. Choose the default program
I'm not
at the
sure.
at the very top where it says program. You have to do the drop down, choose default, and then billing info tab.
I'm
The
looking.
third one over on the bottom row. Next one. Right here is where you're going to set up your day cap. And this will allow for bundling. And then to set up your procedures and your insurance, you want to go to administration procedures. And here's where you're going to put your revenue code, your rate code, and any variations by insurance. The third tab over.
So does it do discounts for the second visit and the third visit?
No,
Okay,
not that I'm aware of.
that's the way if you bundle them, that's the way the billing would be paid. The second visit would be like a 10% discount. But it would bundle it based upon what?
Can you be more specific? I'm not sure what you.
Well, how do you decide what gets bundled into
Same day services and according to rate code. So
okay,
when
was it like a 1504, 1540? That's
yes,
the way it,
yes. Mhm.
that's the way it bundles it.
Like rate codes would bundle.
I'll find
Okay,
out.
that sounds good. Now, how would you handle crossovers? And I think that would be probably the last question at this point.
So you would set up in the system under again, Chuck, if you could go to set up clinic options. And then auto posting. So you would auto post your remittances, and here's where you would set up whether you want your claims to cross over or not. So under,
Does it do it, let's say, you go back to the billing batch and you put in a range of dates and you got paid for the crossover. I mean, you got paid, let's say, for Medicare, now you want to cross over to Medicaid.
yeah,
Would the system now pick that up
yes,
and automatically
create-
bill that?
yes. Yes, it would include all the information from the primary insurance on the secondary electronic claim.
That would be included in the billing batch without having to do anything manually. So
Correct.
whenever I get paid for a crossover, it automatically sends it over with all the CAS reason codes.
Correct, yes. No manual intervention would be necessary.
How'd that work for you?
Again, this is all a setup from you. You would decide what denial reason codes you want to automatically cross over.
One of the things that we had proposed to Larry was to give you guys enough of a tour to say, hey, this has got possibilities or not. And if it does, to work with you on a more specific set of questions and then come on site and spend a couple of hours with you working on a targeted set of questions where we can really get under the hood and answer those to your, hopefully to your satisfaction. But if we could do that, we could, prepare the system with information in there and know where to go and make best use of your time, and along with example material to give you an idea of how it does work. So I guess my question, sir, you've asked many good questions, and they're tough because I'm not a billing guy, but based on what you've seen, how does this look? Do you think it has potential for further investigation?
Yes, I think so. I think you have the flexibility to try and meet our requirements at this point from what I see from the system. So, I would, like the opportunity to, as you said, go under the hood and in more detail and see what's going on.
Well, when we finish up, if you'd be kind enough to let Mr. Fowler know that, I will follow up with him, and we'll see if we can schedule that deep dive with your team. Okey doke.
Heard loud and clear.
Oh, hi, Larry. Still there?
Yeah, I stuck back.
Michael, thank you, Larry. Michael, thoughts, impressions, concerns?
I think your idea of actually taking data and running through the system would give us a more detailed view of how the system works and how it fits into our the way that we handle claims and billing and
Yep, absolutely.
because there's a whole bunch of areas as far as reporting that we can go through. So, I have some interest in going forward because I see it's also somewhat user friendly too.
Thank you. Thank you. And we look forward to that. I'll follow up. Thank you. Kind words. And you know what? You're absolutely right. We'll spend some time before and see if we know where you want to go and we have a chance to put the information in there. It gives us a better chance, kind of what we just did vanilla wise, to at least give you a taste of what was possible. So
yeah, I mean, I think the reporting seems very flexible. So, but the thing would be, we'd want all the reporting to be done before we go up into the system, and also make sure that that the system works the way it should.
One of the nice things we do is we have a very comprehensive project management system. And remember, I was on the front end, if you're here for the first part, we kept talking about business process, how you do it, what your payers require, what your regulatory agencies require. It's not like we It's not like we just copy this over from a manila folder. We work with you. We understand the requirements. We configure it. We test it because there's always things you forgot, or what I call the law of unintended consequences. And but we have what's known as a beta or a test system that we work, we tweak, we configure, we test, and when it fits you the way you want, that's when we freeze everything, do final training with your people, and then go live, so that it's a good gradual process versus a walk through Halloween Horror Night. But we've had a lot of success with that, and we look forward to doing that with you too. Okay, thank you. We'll follow up with Larry. I know he's listening out there. Lynette, Jose, Mr. Mike Zaretsky, I don't know if you're listening or would like to offer any final comments. This is your chance.
Just want to make sure that you put in that feature that gives the staff an electric shock when the work's not finished. And
Yeah.
Not a problem, but if you're going to think that way, my question is, can we charge you extra for that?
that's negotiable. That's negotiable.
I believe that John Cougar had a song called "Hurt So Good."
And just one other thing, just in terms of a lot of our line staff are easily overwhelmed by too much on their screen. Is it possible to limit what they see on their screen for the line staff so there aren't too many buttons showing up that will confuse them?
It is. Let me just give you two things, and then we'll wrap up for the day. This is the homepage. Remember, I have it set up so that I can be 3 different personas going 18 different directions today. But it could be set up. Let me just say, let's give them a full screen. And you say, you know what? When I log on, I want to see my client list defaulted to who I'm supposed to see today. Also, what I want to do is I want to see my alert manager, and I want to have that down in the bottom, just so I can see what my to-dos are and the instant alerts, things of that sort. And instead of having, I don't have any administrative functions. I don't have any of this. And I only have the 3 or 4 things that I go to every day. That could be possible. Even further, and just to beat the horse even further, and just to give you an idea, you're talking about flexibility and configurability. I can go into the my preferences and say, you know what, for me, for this person, we default this by role. So intake or clinicians, billers would have one look. Then I can go in and say, even further, for this person, for me, I want to start ECR in full screen or not, show my client list or not. What in my day-to-day section over here, do I want to show out of a menu? You know, so I've got all these, see this thing in the day-to-day right now, my patient registration, my clients alerts, that matches over here. I could take out 6 or 7 of these things and shrink it down for them. So yes, we want to keep that that Microsoft look and feel, but we want to narrow it down by the persona and then present it on screen, either very, very clean or with the stuff that they go to or somewhere in between. Another long-winded yes.
Charles, have you got a list of the billing requirements? Has that been sent to you?
No, could
Kojo, if you're on the line, can you make sure that he gets that before our next presentation? Kojo? Oh, maybe he's not on the line.
not a problem, but I know Kojo's name and I should have his email address as an attendee. So I'll send it to him if I
Yeah,
get
so
confused.
because I think that'd be useful.
I'm right here. We'll do.
That's
I'll
useful for the
send
next
you a hello.
presentation.
I'll send you a hello email, Kojo, and just hit me back with it, and I'll get it to our folks.
Sounds good.
Great. Okay, folks.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your attention and your interest, and we'll follow up with Larry. We'll get you those answers and hopefully have a chance to come out and spend a considerable amount of time under the hood and see if it's really is the fit that you think it can be.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone, and I wish you a good day. Thanks, everybody on our side. I appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.